The first one is truly about envisioning ambitiously. So seeing that potential faster, further, in a more compelling way than others. And I think this is really where you assume certain companies are great at this and others are not, but it is a skill that can be taught. Seeing the potential in the market is just as much of stepping out of your own comfort zone. It's being curious about seeing things from other people's vantage points.
This is the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, where we equip and empower leaders like you to thrive in and create harmony between your professional and personal lives. I'm your host, Bethany Rees, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking with Louisa Loran about how leaders can cut through busyness, expand their perspective, and create alignment that fuels transformation instead of just reacting to disruption. Louisa Loran has led transformative growth across some of the world's most respected companies, Diageo, Maersk, and Google. A strategic mind with a human lens, she has shaped industries by combining technological foresight with the courage to act before the path is clear. At Google, Louisa launched a billion-dollar supply chain solutions business, doubled growth in a global industry vertical, and led strategic transformation for the company's largest customers in EMEA, working at the forefront of AI, data, and platform innovation. At Maersk, she co-authored the strategy that redefined the brand globally and doubled its share price, helping pivot the company from traditional shipping to integrated logistics. Her career began in luxury and fast-moving consumer goods with Moet Hennessy and Diageo, where she built iconic brands and led innovation at the intersection of heritage and digital transformation. Across more than 2 decades and all continents, Louisa has worked across business to business, business to consumer, and global tech, bridging commercial impact with human-centered change. She also serves on the boards of Copenhagen Business School and Catacap Private Equity and is the author of Leadership Anatomy in Motion. And so we are so excited to have you on the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, Louisa. Thank you for being here.
Lovely to be here, Bethany.
You know, Louisa, I love how your career has spanned across a wide range of industries and cultures. I mean, you have a plethora of experience and wisdom, and I'm excited to learn from you today and just kind of sit at your feet and be like, tell me more.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'm really glad to be here, and I continue to learn, and that's also really what has driven the decisions of my career. Just to elaborate a bit, I spent the first chapter of my career in consumer goods and luxury products at Moet Hennessy and then at Diageo, understanding consumers, brands, demands, both operating at global level, local level, all these things anchored out of more of a marketing and sales and innovation role. When I felt I had a good grasp of that, I wanted to challenge myself and I moved into a completely different industry. So I moved into Maersk, the company that most people recognize from containers moving around the world or passing ports, but truly a global enabler of trade. I landed there, of course, completely different culture, started in a similar functional space, but moved more and more into being part of defining the direction for the company. Because of course, with that background, I could bring in an understanding of what the customers wanted, how one could be great of service and transform that company from being only operational to being much more of an enabler of global supply chains.
Man,
and then
you know what
Sorry.
What I'm hearing with all of that is you were never about finding comfort in a job. I love it. It's all about growth that, hey, I learned in this one position and I'm taking that knowledge and that wisdom and I'm applying it in a new situation. And you're just continually growing your leadership muscle. It's so amazing to hear.
Absolutely. No, you're completely right. And I think even though there are these very different chapters, and we could talk about the last one as well, but it's always about seeing which opportunities out there, being curious about where the market's moving, not just seeing it as a pie in the sky, but understanding what does it take to go there and leaning into trying it, whether that requires new products, whether it requires restructuring, segmentation, whatever it may be, but trying things in a quite structural manner. And then last, but absolutely not least, and I'm sure what has, let's say, taught me the most is understanding what courage is required to pursue these things. So many people say, here's a great vision. This is what we coulda, woulda, shoulda. But what does it take for someone to actually step into it? And I've been privileged to work with people, and that has taught me to find the courage within them and empower them to move forward. So that's really, let's say, the common thread of seeing the future, structurally going after it, but most importantly, finding the courage within.
I love that, how you're pulling in. It's not just intellectual. And I think so often, we are a world society that loves self-help. Like, just tell me the steps and I'll do it. But there's so much more of that emotional side of having the courage to step out and do something new, hard, different. And whenever it doesn't go smoothly, to even navigate and persevere and have resilience in that moment. So that takes courage. I love it. I'm so excited. Which leads me to the point of, you've taken all of this experience and all of this wisdom, and you have written a book which is now available, Leadership Anatomy in Motion. So first off, congratulations. It's an amazing book, and I can't wait to learn more about it and have our listeners learn more about it. So can you just what prompted you to even write this book, Leadership Anatomy in Motion?
Yeah, of course, happy to share. I mean, I've built my career there, the consumer world, the operational world. I then went into Google, which is another significant change, and did global products, led an industry, and led strategic business transformation for Google's largest customers in EMEA. What I learned in all of these was that, well, I could come into a meeting room of executives or someone who had made a big commitment to the corporations I represented. And what truly made me be valuable for them was not introducing the latest technology or whatever it may be, but understanding some of those drivers of what held them back. How could we help them see the potential greater? How could we make them feel comfortable in that change?
Mm.
So it was very clear to me that some of those skills were not about an industry or a traditional capability. It was those human insights. And especially in a world where technology is, let's say, taking a greater space of attention, that connection to what does it take for you as an individual to feel comfortable, I could see I had, let's say, a pattern of what was working. And of course, when you've been in these large corporations, you've been privileged and exposed to a lot of things, but I wanted to not confine it to these meeting rooms. I wanted to give it back. I wanted it to get legs and help more people thrive in this ambiguity we live in today. So it was, let's say, my fourth career chapter. It was a decision to say, I'm not going to find a fourth industry. I'm going to take all that I've learned and share it with people to hopefully motivate them to take their next steps.
And I think that's what even validates you more as a leader. Not only have you walked the walk, you've done the work at major corporations across the world, might I add. But, true leaders are always the one, as John Maxwell would say, knows the way, goes the way, and then shows the way. And that's what you're doing by, sharing with us even today and through this book, is showing us the way. But I love even the title. And what you said, you've been in I just can't even imagine being a fly on the wall in these meeting rooms at Google. Like, everybody across the world knows about Google, right? It impacts, and we use it almost every day. We use their platform and their search engines and just all their products. But as you're sitting in those rooms, you're sitting here talking about the human side of things. And then your book title has anatomy, which is, hey, it's not just a checklist of tasks to accomplish, increased results, which is important. Execution is important. You're bringing this whole other element of anatomy, the human side of it. And I am here for it. I am so excited and ready.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out. And I think there is an acknowledgement that as the world changes and as we continue to see motion, and that's really why the in motion is there, the tool we always have with us is ourselves. And we actually have the capabilities within ourselves to choose how to engage with every single situation. So I wanted to truly bring it back to say, you have all the tools with you, but how can I equip you to use them more wisely? So in the book, I talk about 4 different behaviors, and I anchor all the lived stories within these. The first one is truly about visioning ambitiously. So seeing that potential faster, further, in a more compelling way than others. And I think this is really where you assume certain companies are great at this and others are not, but it is a skill that can be taught. Seeing the potential in the market is just as much of stepping out of your own comfort zone. It's being curious about seeing things from other people's vantage points. It's understanding what could it be. So really reframing your question, or even just on the simplest level, if you want to practice this on a daily level, when you walk into a room, just try to focus your attention on the furthest point in the room or in the horizon or something like that. Simple tools like this will teach you to look at things in a different way. In a business context, this, of course, equips you to see where a market is going ahead of your competition. and equips you to make the choices of whether you want to go there or not. But it's more just about, the first one is about envisioning ambitiously. And of course, in the book, we talk about how, and I tell some stories of who's been great at it, etc. The second one is about expanding with curiosity. This is something that I must say was probably the hardest one for me, because I think all successful people, they're brought up and being told you're great and I expect you to deliver and can you da da da. So you just learn to say, I got it. But really what one needs to do is to be open, to be curious, to leverage the collective intelligence that's available around you. And I both talk about people in different settings, but I also talk about technology and AI and other input like that. And the reason I talk about expansively is because every time you get this input, you can either choose to get completely confused, derailed from your own, or you can just take a breath. You can say, okay, I'm taking it in and I'm going to reset myself and decide what goes forward. So there's visioning, it's the I. There is your thinking expansively, which is your lungs. Then, of course, when you've seen that great potential, you see all these routes towards it, your partnering, your collaboration, etc. You need to make some choices. And this is where I talk about steering decisively. In the book, we use an icon of some arms, because I think this is where people forget that steering decisively is not an emotional task. It is a very strategic task of saying, I need to prioritize, I need to communicate clearly, I need to understand the drivers behind it, which may be emotional. But in this space, you need to make sure that you're actually more clear and you're staffing for the future, you're communicating for the future, you're leveraging your teams around you and understanding more the pulse of change than the actual, let's say, strict lines within people. So that's the third one. The fourth one, and the final one, is truly about embodying the change. And here I chose to take the icon of the spine. Once again, I think that as I was growing up in my career, I thought, well, again, stand strong, hold firm was the way forward. But reality is that with the amount of change, with the amount of knowledge we constantly absorb and learn from, it actually is that flexibility without falling over that is what defines great leaders. It is leaders who know when they are to lean in and lead from the front, those who know where to step back and actually create a space for you, but be more agile and flexible. And truly also acknowledging that this is, all of these are things that can be physically trained, and you can prep yourself and your body to be more ready to succeed in an ambiguous world.
And I love the visual that you're giving us. Can you quickly recap the 4 behaviors and the body part that they align with, just so we can have it in one setting?
Yeah, of course. There's envisioning ambitiously, which of course is the I. Then there's expanding with curiosity, your lungs, creating space for that. Steering decisively, which will be your arms that give direction. And then finally, embodying with presence, which is your spine.
That is so good. I mean, if you think about the 4 core behaviors that we need, any kind of athlete that wants to win a prize, it doesn't matter the athlete. Guess what? Athletes, have to work their bodies out. They have to have that goal in front of them, especially to make it through the hard days.
Yeah.
And it's so important, that vision. And I think we do. You were talking about, you have to be able to see what's out there ahead of the markets, like learning to see around the corner, right? Yeah. That is a skill set that you can learn. But we, for the most part, let me be the first to confess, I can't see the forest for the tree in front of me. Like I'm so stuck on this one thing that's causing me an immediate, amount of discomfort or pain.
Yeah.
That I often can't see something bigger and beyond that. And I love that you gave such a great application of start learning this skill. Like let's expand our eyesight so that we can start seeing around the corner. It's such a wonderful thing, because vision drives everything else. I mean, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you can't see it, it's very hard to steer towards it. I once had a great coach who kept saying to me, "What else could be true?"
Ooh.
And you are absolutely right. I use that with my kids all the time. They're like, and then he said, and then I'm like, what else could be true? And just framing it that way, because it's like saying to someone else, imagine, da, 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 I want you. You can't force people to see things different, but you can invite them to gain a new perspective.
That's so good. All right, I wear glasses, and whenever I take my glasses off, like you don't want to, I can't watch the TV, I can't drive, I can't do things. And so often, whenever people are saying, "Hey, look over here and look at this thing," I'm like, "Hang on, let me make sure I have my glasses in the right spot so I can see." And so often, I can't take off my glasses and hand them to another person and them have the same vision. We all have different lenses and different perspectives, and I think it takes such humility to say, I have to recognize that I see things one way. I have
Yeah,
strengths in this point of view, this perspective,
yeah, yeah.
but I can't be arrogant enough to say, I'm right. Don't you see what I see? You have to expand your vision to say, what else are you noticing? What do you see? What's your perspective?
And I think that's what's been so healthy throughout my career, because I've truly been with great leaders and I've worked with great
Mhm.
companies, and all of them have been so successful and therefore believe that they had the full truth. And they were not incorrect, but it's nuances and it's
Mhm.
perspectives. And I think this is really where I have physically moved myself to understand things from different sides. But there are choices that one can make not to stay in that same track for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So now, as we go to expanding, I love that you were talking about bringing other people on board. You have to recognize that you don't know it all, right? Even the best athletes. I'm thinking one of the easiest ones is Michael Jordan from the 90s, basketball player.
Yeah,
Pick any
yeah,
Olympic athlete. They still have a coach. They have someone who still pushes them, helps them, brings in a different, we talked about perspective already, but different skill sets to help expand that knowledge and that wisdom so that you can start steering, which is the next one. I'm seeing how it's all connected. Number one, I see your beautiful unfolding of all of this, but the expanding
all
of
that.
the lungs, the
Yeah.
expanding of your circle, why is that so important?
I think if I may, I'll just tell the story of working in more traditional companies where there is clarity and there's hierarchy and you kind of know your space and you contribute towards that. And then if you're someone like me, you land in an environment that's more built in, let's say, a technology enabled world such as Google, and it's completely built on collective intelligence. You suddenly have everyone contributing with their own perspective. And
Hmm.
at first you're like, oh my God, this is so confusing, and who's going to do what, and why are you doing what you're doing? But it I had to stop myself and withhold judgment because I didn't know where they were in their process. I didn't know what they were going to end up with before I started to assess what was really relevant for me. So all those that say, yeah, we steer and then afterwards we're going to be open, then actually you've cut out a huge potential to learn from those around you. And I
Hmm.
think especially also when we look at some of the companies that are truly accelerating now, they are very, very good at saying, I am great at this piece, but I trust someone else for this very important component of my, let's say, my supply chain or my product, whatever it may be, because I can focus my attention on what I need to be great at. And I trust someone else for this one. And that's
Hmm.
really how many companies of a newer age have grown faster than many of the great traditional companies.
If you're enjoying the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss a single episode. Also, be sure to rate the show. We hope to earn 5 stars in serving you in leadership, and through your ratings, it'll help us get the word out about what we do here at Leadership on the Rocks. Now, back to the show. You are hitting the nail on the head. And you know what I'm thinking about? I'm an entrepreneur now, right? And so whenever you start a business, and there's actually a book about this, you're not only the technician, you're doing the thing, but you're also the entrepreneur of thinking about where can I expand and grow, but then you're the manager of the systems and the processes.
Yeah.
And the only way to scale is to realize that you can't be all three things. Like there's some things you got to start delegating out. And I
Mm.
think for the most part, I'm making a generalization here, but we often fight ourselves for that control of, but I can't release it. And what you were saying, there are so many companies, the ones that are successful, do know how to delegate out or have contractors. Hey, you mentioned supply chain, you know. Hey, I'm really good at this thing, but the supply chain logistics of getting the thing that I'm really good at out into the world, let's get somebody else and bring them on because that's their skill set. It's a different set of
Yeah.
skills. And it's
Yeah.
so, so important that we, think about that and not hold on with a tight fist to everything. And you can even apply this to parenting. Like, stop
Yeah.
controlling every aspect of your home life and like expand, get your children involved in chores, for example.
Yeah, and a little bit back to the whole anatomy point, and I think this is also really important because you can also be too open. you can be too open to influence. And especially today, where news wants to tell you a new story every single day. If you could look at some of the larger currents of change, actually, it's a very different takeaway versus reading every single beat. So I think that's where you need to say, okay, I acknowledge that, I listen, I'm open, but I decide myself which of my own assumptions I'm willing to change and how I now build up a new narrative. It's not a new truth, it's a new input.
I love it. You know what I'm thinking of? Just to go with the lungs, right? Because this is the parallel. The lungs
Yeah,
is whenever you're in fresh air, breathe it in. But if you're somewhere stinky, hold the breath.
exactly.
So don't allow it to come into your body.
I like that.
I'm so
And
literal.
everyone can relate to a memory about that, right?
That's right. Whenever you're breathing in, expanding, right? If it's good air, take it in. If it's not, hold the breath. All right. So now let's dive in a little bit deeper on steering. We've got the arms. We have vision. We know where we want to go. We know who we're bringing on board because we're expanding our team and things like that. So now steering, getting there. And you said that this is less emotional and more strategic. So can you help us, like emotional creatures like I am,
Yeah.
realize how to play this one with steering?
Yeah. No, it's quite funny because obviously I'm a very, let's say, emotional person. I have a big heart. This has been empathy has been a large part of my life and will continue to be so. However, I am also very firm when decisions need to be made to achieve a certain goal. Say, for instance, in an organization where you either have to reduce headcount or where you are doing a significant transformation. I think one is doing a disservice by not being clear on actually what is required for the future, either different skills or more, let's say, lower cost and therefore lower headcount in order to actually achieve profitability and to exist. I think there is a huge amount of waste in global businesses where people are like, oh, I'm just trying to make it work. Well, you're not. All you're doing is you're putting more pressure on yourself and on the individual on something that may be inevitable versus being very clear. This is what we expect to happen. This is how I have prioritized. And this is how we are going to sequence it. And then being clear why some people are maybe change makers and therefore their role is to, let's say, create the wake and these are the followers, but at the same time be very explicit on where one is going. So it's not that you can't, and you should of course have emotion in your conversations in this space, but your decisions should be made with your head.
Oh, I love it so much. We talk a lot about on the show mindset, right? And mindset is your thoughts. Your thoughts will then turn into your feelings. Your feelings will turn into your actions. It's all about capturing your thought first. If
Mhm.
we are, and it's okay to say I have emotions. We all have emotions, but you cannot make emotional decisions because your emotions can lie to you so often and
Yeah,
lead you down a path that is not good nor healthy. And
yeah,
so I love that you're like, back it up, think through this about what decision you need to make because ultimately you're hired to do a job to execute, whether it be increase profits, scores, whatever, services, whatever it is that you do in your industry. But it needs to be based on the thinking brain of data and strategy and all of that. And then the way that you approach it, because again, thoughts go to feelings, then you approach it softly with how you then deliver it. I love it.
yeah.
It's so good because I tend to I can operate emotionally. I can think with my emotional brain of just I want everybody to feel good. I want it to be nice, but actually that can be so detrimental and that can also
Yeah.
lead to so many other problems.
Exactly. And I think, again, one thing is in business where these may have, let's say, larger structural changes, but it's just in any decision in life. If you know it has to happen, be clear with yourself, this has to happen, and why does it
Hmm.
have to happen? Instead of, let's say, having it grow in your mind. And I think what we also find in this space, in steering, in organizing, in driving this structural change, it's really the vulnerabilities that get in the way. It's not real problems. So that's why I talk about, let's say,
Hmm.
decisively and non-emotionally. It's not because emotions can be, let's say, numbed, but be careful that they don't steer it. Be honest
Hmm.
about where it comes from.
Here's what I was thinking, right? Every time that I talk to someone on this show, I'm thinking about personal application for me. And I hope that doesn't come across as selfish. But as you were talking and giving that truth, I can see it in business. But let me tell you what I was thinking personally. Let's
Yeah,
go with exercise and working out. We know we need to take care of You're sitting here
Yeah.
talking about our leadership
Yeah.
body, essentially. And my emotional brain is, I feel tired today. I don't want to work out. That's my emotional brain.
Yeah.
But the steering part, if I'm like, no, I'm supposed to steward, take care of my body,
Yeah.
even though I don't feel like it, I'm still
Yeah.
going to have the self-discipline to do it because it
Yeah.
matters. And that's
Yeah.
where I went. So from business to the
Absolutely.
personal side.
Absolutely. And I talk a lot about in the book as well, understanding the pulse of change. So, who
Mhm.
are those people that will help you work out? Where will the momentum be generated? And it's okay to join that, not to just find it the hard way, but actually see here's some change. Here's a group class that I really have fun in as well. So let me join there, or find a time that makes it easier. But be very strategic about how to make this happen.
Oh, it's so good. All right, so now let's get to the back one, embodying, and it is the spine. And I love how you're saying, or whenever we think of a spine, a backbone, we think of being rigid and being strong and all that stuff. But I love how you turn that on its head and say, actually, you want your spine to be pretty flexible and know how to move and bend. And think
Mhm.
about that. I mean, if anybody who is, I'm going to use the little phrase, down on their back knows, oh, I wish my spine would move. And it makes perfect sense why we need this in business. So expand that a little bit more with the embodying and the spine.
Absolutely. And I think it's also back to that. There are so many sayings in business, I've got your back, or
Oh,
stand
yeah.
tall, or all these type of things, when really, if we think about it ourselves, this is a tool we can work with, we can use. And it's also the one where we can most clearly show whether a fear is hitting us or not, or whether we're comfortable in our own stance. So I share some stories about people who have actually chosen to define their own future, not been afraid to be knocked down. And I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of this, which is also understanding the difference between when you're, for instance, training to survive versus training to thrive. And a lot of people, they say, "Oh, I'm, I want to get through this. I have to prove. I have to be there. All these things, and then I just create a small break so I can get back in the game." But all of this is truly about having that awareness that even though these are bones and they are strong, it's the flexibility of how to move within that that enables us to continuously show up at change, show up with
Mhm.
people, and bring ourselves forward within that.
Oh, that's so good. And the one thing that I think everybody listening can agree on, change is constant, right?
Yeah,
And if you don't learn how to bend and adjust to that, you will, as the saying goes, break. If you're
yeah,
too rigid, it'll break. And we
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
that. Oh,
No.
I just love it so much. So leadership anatomy, I love that visual. I think it helps anchor our learning so, so much. And so now we're talking a leadership anatomy in motion. Now we're taking motion. We're going somewhere with this. So now let's back up as we kind of come to the end of this thought. How does this help us cut through busyness? How does this help
Yeah.
us, really stop doing stupid things and the busy work that we're all caught in? How do we get over that?
Well, I think for me, this is a behavior, a muscle, a set of behaviors that one can be trained. And I personally, I love change. I love lots of stuff because I grow continuously through it. So it is, as one trains this, you do not
Mhm.
see these as barriers. You become more clear on saying, okay, these tasks that were given to me, what's the role of them? Are they part of a change journey? Do I have to just quite not spend emotions on understanding why they are what they are, but just get them done? Or actually, is this an input? Am I trying to learn here? Am I trying to expand, etc.? So you get very sharp and therefore more effective, and spend less time, let's say, winding up thoughts in your head, and being
Mhm.
able to steer within all of this. I think what I'm also really seeing is that a lot of people in today's day and age, they read all these books and they say, okay, I now have a description of how one should ideally be, instead of saying, how do I train it within myself to continuously face whatever comes my way?
That's so good. As you were saying, asking all those questions, I'm like, the reflective part of that helps you really see, and it goes back to all of your parts, helps you really see what's going on here
Yeah,
because we can get so stuck in reaction mode of I see the tree in front of me And you asking all of those questions, being reflective of what's really happening here, it immediately helps you step back and take vision of all
Yeah.
the things at play. And then it leads to the next one of, okay, if now that I know what's at play and where I need to head, because I can see a bigger picture of that, I mean, it just rolls right into everything that you've been describing with his four behaviors. But how you get out of reaction mode is reflecting and asking those questions, and it ties into now envisioning, getting the vision, and then I'm expanding, and then I'm the next one. What was the third one? I
Steering,
just went
steering.
steering, and actually getting it done, and then
Yeah,
embodying. It just leads into
yeah,
everything. I love
yeah.
how
And
you taught your brain to reflect first.
exactly. And I think life is changing. Uh, our situation, family, societal, whatever it may be, and business is continuously changing. And as I said, I think technology is confusing a lot of people these days.
Mm,
So sharing quite a few stories of, let's say, some of the drivers of this, not the experience, etc. But I think
mm.
that it is truly about understanding how one has to acknowledge that any transformation starts with yourself. If you are not willing to
Yes.
change yourself, stop wasting your company's money, your kids' attention,
Hmm.
whatever it may be, because actually it is you who has the control of understanding what stays from the past. What do I need to just check in with myself on, and how do I build in a new narrative that's going to shape the future?
Oh, you are getting to the heart of the issue. So often we can buy the plug and play systems, what we think is the magic bullet that's going to just fix it all, right? How many thousands of dollars or thousands, millions of dollars are wasted on programs of, yeah, we'll just implement this new program. It's going to be great. It's going to
Yeah,
fix all our problems. When
yeah,
you never changed yourself in that process of how
yeah.
you do things. So you're
I,
hitting the nail on the head. I love it.
I can tell you, I do executive advisory now, and I have some amazing people I work with. Of course, they are keen to evolve, and they have tried many things, and they've failed, but they've also succeeded, and they just have this feeling that there could be more. What is really interesting is about this is, of course, that we end quite quickly up with conversations about themselves and what's holding them back, and what they actually want to achieve in life, what legacy they want to have. And once these pieces fall into place, it is very easy for them to then say, and of course, this is what I have to do for my company.
Hmm. Oh, I love it. So good. All right. So, Louisa, as we think about all the things that you've said, it's amazing with the four core behaviors and how to get out of busyness and reaction mode. What are some key takeaways for our listeners that they need to apply so that they can grow in their leadership? Like they can literally make this change today and tomorrow. What are some key takeaways?
Well, of course, I hope that they will, let's say, enrich themselves with more stories from the book and join in on the conversation, because, of course, we all need to continue to learn on this. I think the core takeaway is truly that you have the ability to define the future yourself. So that, I would say, is the thing that you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to become?
Mm.
Because I have the potential myself.
I love it. You're telling me I'm not stuck and I'm here for it. Thank you. I can change it. All right. So now let's do the opposite. What is one poor decision you would warn our leaders to avoid? Like, don't do this one thing. Come on, you're better than that.
I think we've talked a little bit about this, but the one decision not to do is to assume you know.
Mm.
Like, you must be curious, you must be open. That is absolutely the most important thing in this.
Oh,
You don't know what other people are taking from anything. You don't know what their backgrounds are, their motivations, etc. So be curious. Do
oh,
not assume.
I love it. So good. So good. All right. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you, your work, and where can they go pick up a copy of Leadership Anatomy in Motion?
So Leadership Anatomy in Motion is out there everywhere. Your local bookstore, any online channel. It will be coming in an ebook later, but I wanted to give a couple of months for appreciation for the people who like the physical books as well. I have some content, of course, linked all over LinkedIn. LouisaLoran.com. You can see more links on some of the thought leadership pieces that I'm getting out there in the media space. And it's really interesting to see how the opportunity to bring this into some of the debates about geopolitical pressures, about
Mm.
board staffing, all these type of things, where we're now seeing the application in other contexts. Because of course, when you talk about something like this, and when you bring it to a wide audience, it's a lot about the how. The conversations about the what that's where you need the specific context, either the one-to-one executive decision, advisory and discussion, or a framing such as some of those articles. So I welcome you also to reach out on louisaloran.com, and let's continue to learn on this together.
Awesome. I love it. And all of those links will be in the show notes, guys. So be sure to go connect with her on LinkedIn, go to her website. And I love that you're staying up to date on all this stuff. So this is not just a framework, go apply it. It is a constant conversation of how do you live it out daily, because the world is changing so much. It's so great. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for being here, Louisa. It's just been so great to learn from you.
Likewise, I've really enjoyed the conversation.
All right. Guys, until next time, continue putting in the work of building your life and leadership on the rocks, the essential rocks. God bless. Remember, the most essential rock you can build your life and leadership on is the rock of Jesus Christ. Today's Bible verse comes from Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21. And your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, "This is the way. Walk in it," when you turn to the right or when you turn to the left.